This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by BetterHelp, affordable online private counseling. Get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by LinkedIn Jobs. Find the right person for your business today with LinkedIn Jobs. Get $50 off your first job post at linkedin.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the gift guide shows just continue, and we're going to keep them going for as long as we can get guests that are picking cool stuff. And that's what this is. This one, though, is just a touch different because when we do the gift guide shows, I obviously have to work them out around my recording schedule, and that means around East Coast time, which really leaves out some of our friends in Europe. So this time I was able to block off some time that at a time that's a little more acceptable to them without getting them up in the middle of the night. And we also should say that one member had to cancel out at the last minute due to a family emergency. If he could get back, he said he would, but I kind of doubt he will, so that'll be for another time. So that means we have a panel of three, and that means we're going to have a whole lot of fun. So taking it as it appears on my screen, we'll let you know who's here, and then we'll get to the gifts. First up, Patrice Brend'Amour. Patrice, great to see you, not on the British Tech Network, but now here on MacVoices.
Yeah, I don't think I've been on MacVoices in quite a long time. I don't remember. I was on like a couple of years ago. That's been a while.
Well, again, the time zone thing makes it a little difficult. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like usually, I remember like usually when you record, as long as I'm living in Europe, I'm usually in bed by then.
Yeah, if you're smart, you are.
Well, I mean, I usually wouldn't because I'm more like a night owl, but work is the problem there.
Yeah, don't we all? We all have that.
Exactly.
Also here, Ms. Rosemary Orchard. Rosemary, great to see you.
Thank you for having me back, Chuck. It's always fun to talk about amazing things that you can get other people at this time of year.
Yeah, and I love having you on, and I have the same problem with you that I have with Patrice. If you have any sense, you're in bed when we record most of the MacVoices shows. So, we do what we can when we can.
And I'm willing to be unsensible at times. So
it's
better than incensed. Yeah. So
okay.
That's true.
I think we're all incensed at this point, but that's a whole nother show. So you all have received the list of previous picks, and that really is the only rule here, that we discourage folks from picking something that's already been picked. It does happen occasionally for one reason or other, but that's okay too. The whole thing is in fun. So we'll do 4 rounds of picks and see what you should be getting your friends, family, or maybe yourself for the holidays. And I'll just keep the same order if that's okay. So Patrice, you get pick number 1.
Okay. I decided to mostly go with like an audiobook or like an audio theme. So you're going to get a lot of books from me. And I don't think that many people have actually picked them. So it's always good to give something to read over Christmas. And like, any time of the year, I think reading is fun. And the good thing is you can get most things as audiobooks these days. And one of my absolute favorite books that I recommend to a lot of people is the book it is technically, I don't remember who actually wrote that. It's if you know Nicole Maines, she is she's one of the characters on Supergirl. She's a transgender woman, and her mother technically wrote a book titled "Becoming Nicole: The Transformation of an American Family," just detailing like how she grew up and how everything happened and all the stresses that came with having a transgender child in school and friends and all of that. And it is a really good book. Some people might remember the bathroom bill in Maine. That was like, I want to say almost 10 years ago by now. That was like her family who did that. And as I said, it's just a great book. I've listened to it probably like 5-10 times by now. It's one of my favorites. I always go back to. And as I said, it's just a good story. And it's about a topic that is, I think, very important for a lot of people to understand and like to like really dive into. I always recommend this book to like anybody who hasn't heard or listened to it yet. So yeah.
Do you happen to know which character on Supergirl?
She is
Just
Dreamer.
curious more than anything.
Dreamer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always blanking on names. I'm very bad with names.
Yeah, I was trying to reach out and run through the cast, and it's like, okay, which one? Okay.
She's Dreamer. She's one of the superheroes, basically. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you couldn't tell. Like as I said, she's amazing. Like I follow her on Instagram and so on. She's like a really, really nice person, really interesting character, and like a good actress. Too bad Supergirl is ending now. I think there's one season left, so we'll have to find something else to watch her in. But as I said, the book is really good. As I said, it was written by her mother. I listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by one of the authors. Like it's ghost written basically. Amy Ellis Nutt is the author. If you're looking for that, as I said, you can get it hardcover, Kindle, like all of whatever you prefer.
Great. I love it, and I love the theme of books, because you're right. This is the time of year, and with everybody being in lockdown, pretty much around the world to one degree or another, it's a great time to do some catching up. So
absolutely,
or find ways to occupy your time. Rosemary, what's your first pick?
Well, my picks are a little bit all over the place, mostly with a techie theme, but I'm going to start by going a bit analog, and that is a Spoke Designs pen. So these are machine steel. Spoke Designs originally launched these on Kickstarter, and they're now available for just purchase. This is the full-size one. It's purple. You can get it in a variety of colors, and you can replace the insert so that you can write with different colors and so on. But what I really like, and I'm going to move this right in front of my microphone for this, is when you put it together, it clicks, and that's magnetic, and it's great.
So good.
It's a really satisfying sound. This is the Postable Pen, so it's the pocket size one, and it's called Blurple. It's got a blue lid, a purple body, and there's a really lovely iridescent clip on it. And again, when you click the lid onto the pen, it just goes dunk, and it's a very satisfying magnetic sound. And I find, especially at this time of year, I am always wanting to write more things down. And I love writing down my New Year's resolutions and all of those things. And it's really lovely to have a great pen to do that with. And if you can replace the insert, then it's not a pen that you're going to throw away. It's a pen you're going to keep and reuse, which is going to be nice long-term for you. And I just really, really love writing things down. I recently fished out a couple of notebooks. And so this is a teeny tiny notebook that I've just written my to-do list in for today, where I've just got a couple of things I need to make sure I get on top of and get ahead of. And so I've just scribbled those down. And I really love that, we have all of these great, pens available. And Spoke Designs also do a matching mechanical pencil and some other options. But I just find their products to be really, lovely to use. And they're available for purchase too. So
I'm intrigued by how many times not only analog things come up in the gift guides, but how many times pens come up. This is something that seems to be, and I feel like I'm missing the boat, because unfortunately, I'll go to a hotel, pick up a pen, stick it in my pocket, and then, okay, I got a pen, great. And I'm not as intentional about it. And you guys are slowly pushing me to the point that I'm thinking that I need or should to be intentional about my pens. There's something going on here that I'm missing.
Well, I have a follow-up recommendation for you there, then, Chuck. The Pen Addict podcast. If you want to start looking at pens, the Pen Addict podcast is a really great way to get started. Mike and Roady are super, super friendly. Actually, one of them, not Mike, the other one, whose name I've just forgotten, sorry, Bradley. No, not Bradley. That was Bradley Chambers, who used to work for Fraser Spears. Sorry, his name begins with a B. He's a lovely guy. I've forgotten his name, but he is the one behind Spoke Designs with another of his friends. And so they actually make these pens, or they have them produced and handle the shipment and fulfillment and everything themselves. But yeah, there's a whole lot of things. You can get into the paper and all sorts. And I find it's just a very nice way. And especially with this year having been a bit of a crazy year, people are probably going to be looking to change systems up and maybe get away from screens a little bit. So a nice pen is a great way to help yourself do that.
Yeah, Ken Ray was talking, this has been quite a little while ago this year, but where he was learning to make paper. And it's like, okay, it's one of those things. I'm missing something, but just the whole experience of it makes you appreciate it more. So, yeah, I've got to find time in my schedule to explore some of this, because I think it's fascinating that so many tech people focus on some of these analog things.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a counter movement, because everything is going digital. We have iPads and like all of that. Like we have all those digital tools, and then we like appreciate something that we don't need to use anymore. Like it's not like the olden days where we had like paper was the only thing we could use. Now we have other options, but when we use it, we want to use something really nice, and I think that's kind of complementary almost.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you just pick up a cheap pen from somewhere, sure, you can write with it. But these, a nice pen is weighted, so it feels good in your hand. So you don't get as much fatigue when you're doing long form writing and things like that. And, if you've got a nice tool, then you'll look for reasons to pick it up and use it. So if you're trying to integrate something into a system and you're doing things analog, then it's great to have a great tool that you can reach for. And that applies for multiple areas of your life. If you've got great tools for things, you're more likely to do it because you want to have the fun of using whatever it is. I mean, that's why people have stand mixers, right? So that they enjoy baking more, because I can just throw the stuff in and boom, dough. Excellent.
True.
That is so well said, and that goes for baking, for cooking, for yard work. If you have the right tools, you're more inclined to actually do it and to use them, because it's more efficient and in a lot of cases more fun. So yeah. Great words to live by from Rosemary Orchard.
For sure.
I'm sure I stole them from somebody.
That's all right. Well, I've been theming some of my gift picks based on the events of the year, lockdown and working at home and all that. One of the things I keep talking about is looking better on video calls, and that usually involves an external camera of some kind. This time, though, this is going to be sort of a contingent pick, because if you happen to have, and a lot of us do, an old GoPro or an old camcorder or something like that, as long as it has an HDMI out, you can get really, really good video out of that. The trouble is getting it into the Mac and having it be recognized as a webcam. And so one of the options you have is this little device. This is a generic little, they call it a video capture card, an HDMI video capture card. Got an HDMI port here, a USB port here, which you can, of course, you get an adapter for USB-C. Plug it in, and suddenly and magically, whatever you have this plugged into becomes a webcam, so that it will be recognized by Skype, by Zoom, by Teams, and so the field is kind of wide open as to what you might have. The one problem, issue, call it whatever you want, is it needs to, and I was taught this term in another show, it needs to output clean HDMI. In other words, the little graphic controls that you see on the screen for whatever camera or camcorder we're talking about needs to have nothing to be able to send out through the HDMI with none of that. Otherwise, that's going to show up on your screen. Now, depending on what it is, that might be okay, but it really is not what you want. One thing, though, that this pairs really with is a GoPro. You can actually use your GoPro as a webcam just with this. And these are like $20. There are a whole lot of them out there. I'll have links in the show notes to the one that I bought that works just perfectly. And I've connected a camcorder through it. I've connected my GoPro through it. I've connected some DSLRs that unfortunately did not output clean HDMI, but it made the connection and did what it was supposed to do. For $20, it's something, if you have one of those sitting around, you can afford to invest in and see if it works, and just make yourself look a little better, a little more professional when it comes to any of the video calls that you're doing. And it looks like we will continue to be doing them for some time now.
Yeah, so. I can see a secondary use for that. If you're doing like a show like this, and or like just a presentation of some sort, and you have a secondary Mac or secondary device that you want to show on screen. One way is to do like a VNC, like some screen share thing, but then you need the screen space for that to capture then that remote screen and then put it up on whatever Zoom you're using. with this, you can basically use that as an input and then use something like OBS, for example, to like mix that together and show whatever you're showing on the secondary screen on your live stream. So that works too.
Good point. Yeah. For $20, give or take.
Well worth
I
it.
might get one.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting one. I'm looking on Amazon right now, or at least I will be right after the show. I don't want to accidentally lose you guys. So.
I love it. I just cost somebody else money. That's great.
That's all right. We're going to turn the tables on you.
Oh, darn. This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by our sponsor, BetterHelp, affordable online private counseling. 2020 has been a rough year. For so many, the holidays can be a difficult time, and with everything that has been 2020, it may be rougher than most. You might need a little help getting through this time of year. Or maybe it's something unrelated to the holidays. Whatever is interfering with your happiness, you can get help with BetterHelp. BetterHelp delivers convenient online counseling the way you want it. By phone, by video chat, whatever you are most comfortable with. Their licensed professional therapists connect with you in a safe online environment. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and because it is online, you never need to leave the house. That's great from both the health and safety perspective and from the comfort level perspective, since sitting in a waiting room is never comfortable. Just a few of the specialties their counselors deal with every day are anxiety, relationship issues, trauma, and anger. Or, if there is something else on your mind, there is little doubt that they have someone who specializes in it. You can start living a happier life today. That's something I want for you, and I bet you want that too. As a MacVoices listener or viewer, you can get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by visiting betterhelp.com/MacVoices. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's betterhelp.com. betterhelp.com/MacVoices. Thanks to BetterHelp for their support of MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by LinkedIn Jobs. Make your next great hire at LinkedIn Jobs. The holidays are bearing down on us, and we're all looking forward to a little time off. The thing is that when the holidays are over, you're going to be ramping your business back up to full speed for the new year. That means new projects, new people needed to implement and operate those projects, and that means you need to go to LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn has a staggering 722 million members worldwide, which makes it arguably the largest pool of talent to get your job opportunity in front of on the planet. I like it because anyone who is in business is on LinkedIn, and if they aren't, they probably aren't worth your job opportunity anyway. LinkedIn has recently implemented new features to help you find qualified candidates quickly. And you can manage your job postings from your phone, so that you can squeeze in a quick review of candidates in between your holiday celebrations. Ready to get ready for 2021? Visit linkedinjobs.com/MacVoices to get $50 off your first post. That's linkedinjobs.com/MacVoices to get $50 off your first job post. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks to LinkedIn Jobs for their support of MacVoices. Okay, well, that's a good first round. So, Patrice, take us into round two.
Okay, the next book is going into a completely different direction. It's like a spy novel. It is called The Moscow Rules, the secret CIA tactics that helped America win the Cold War. It is written by a couple that was at some point in the CIA. They're very well known if you're in the space. Antonio Mendes and Jonna Mendes. They basically almost invented the spycraft that the CIA used throughout the I think 70s, 80s, maybe in the 60s, I don't remember, but definitely the 70s. It is about how they basically evaded and did their job in Moscow. While back in the day, the Soviet Union, they were really good at preventing the US of working there, and how they still did their job and what kind of things they came up with and so on. So it's just a really good book. And I mean, if you've seen her, Jonna, she's on YouTube a lot, and also on other shows. Like she's shown up all over the media space, talking about her past and what they did and the crazy stuff they pulled off. For example, I remember from the book how they turned like one of the guards, I think, they turned them from a man into a woman so that he could go somewhere and drop something off. And like they completely pulled it off. Nobody even knew. Like they tested it with people in the embassy, and like nobody could tell. Like they were that good. I think it took like 40 seconds to turn from like a kind of like an accountant type with like a suit and like a briefcase into an old woman with a like a shopping cart in like 40 seconds or something. Stuff like that. Really crazy, really good stories. As I said, I'm guessing most of it is true. I mean, we're not giving away much because all of that was eventually like released, and eventually someone figured it out, and then they had to come up with new stuff. But as I said, it's just a good story and a good book.
I'm surprised that she's still alive if she's out there revealing this stuff. But that's great.
Yeah,
but I love that story. It sounds like it's something you would see, on a movie that, you think, yeah, right. How could this, but,
exactly.
Apparently
that's the interesting. I mean, she doesn't give away all the secrets, like how exactly they did it. She tells more the story, what they did and like how they tested it and so on. But like, I mean, what you see in James Bond or in Mission Impossible or whatever, and you think, oh man, that's just like movie stuff. It sounds like a lot of that is actually based on like real spycraft.
It's amazing how inobservant people are sometimes, and they overlook things, and that's amazing how it can be used. I've not read the Moscow Rules, but I will definitely be picking up a copy because that's very interesting. Yeah,
she also she tells the story how she basically convinced the president of the United States at that point. I don't remember who it was, probably Nixon. To invest in that and do it. And she basically walked into his office completely like in disguise and talked to him, and he didn't notice anything. I mean, he didn't know her until she revealed what was going on. It was like,
and he was an actor, so he must have been fairly familiar with makeup and costumes, right?
Yeah, exactly. She and that's why that's the interesting thing. That's where they got a lot of the ideas. Like they worked very closely with Hollywood and all the companies around it, because they took a lot of what was going on there and tried to apply it. So that good story.
And you're right, Rosemary. Because if not that I'm going out much right now, but you go out, you see somebody on the street, you say hello. You don't really stop and think, are they what they appear to be? You just take it at face value and move on. So,
especially right now with people wearing masks, you don't even recognize your best friends. You see somebody and they wave at you, and you go, "I assume I must know this person." You wave back, and then it turns out that you and the stranger have been waving at each other for months because you thought that somebody knew you, and they thought that you were somebody else, and it's this whole complicated thing. And I mean, if you end up making new friends, it could be less weird, but
Yeah. No, it is funny. Yeah. Now you walk into a restaurant, a store, or whatever. If you'd done this 12 months ago, before everything started, they'd have been calling the police because some guy in a mask just walked in the store. Now they call the police if somebody walks in that doesn't have a mask on. So,
so true.
The whole world is upside down.
Yeah.
All right, Rosemary, you're threatening to cost me money, so let's see how you do.
All right. Well, my next one is to do with photography. It is the Pivo. Again, this was a Kickstarter project. I've got a little name sticker on mine, but essentially it's a stand for your iPhone. And if I put it here, you can just about see that there's a little red circle on my face on the app. And if I move my hand, then it's actually following me. I'm rotating my camera on my phone using software that's an app installed on my phone and the device to actually follow me as I theoretically walk around the room. Now, I can't really simulate getting up and walking around with a webcam like the one on my machine, but thanks to your pick, Chuck, then maybe I could actually hook this up as well, because this will fit on a standard tripod mount. But the idea is it connects to your phone and it can do things like follow a head or a body, or it can follow a horse. That is indeed a thing. But they also have modes for doing automatic panoramas. So you could pop this on a tripod, stick it somewhere, and say, do a panorama, and it will do that perfect slow movement to take a panorama that you want using, the iPhone's panorama mode, and it can do a full 360-degree shot. and it doesn't have any of that up and down, or you're moving too fast or you're moving too slowly that you would usually get if you try and take a panoramic photo. And it's also got fun modes. Like, so say, for example, you go somewhere. I'm just going to pick a bad example here because it's internationally recognizable. Say you went to Stonehenge and you were able to go inside the stones and put a tripod in the middle. You could have it. So you go and you do a funny pose in front of each stone, and it takes a photo of you and it waits for you to move to the next stone. You clap your hands and then it will move and continue the panorama there. So you don't have that weird streaking effect with people moving. It's just you in front of each item, whatever it is that you're trying to take a picture of. Now, just to be clear, you cannot go and stand in the middle of Stonehenge unless there is a very, very special exemption, such as filming or, Midsummer. And Midsummer was canceled this year. So, and usually if you can go in, there'll be a lot of people. But something like that where you want to take pictures, or say, for example, where you are living, you are able to gather with your family and friends for Christmas and you want to take a bigger group photo. This is a great tool for that. And it's pretty small. It fits in my pocket, or, well, it would fit in my pocket if I had normal pockets. It fits in my handbag, which is a pretty good start because I tend to carry quite a small handbag. And they are also on sale at this time of year, which is great. So they're even more discounted than usual.
I've seen these and I've wanted to talk to someone to find out if they really do work as well as their promotional videos.
It works really, really well. I have been testing it out for a couple of different things recently, but I set it up as a test. So I put a tripod in the middle of the room and I had my dad redecorate the room. Now, to be clear, he was willing to redecorate the room. I didn't just say, Dad, redecorate my room for me. But he was happy to redecorate the room. So he went around and he painted everything. And I had the Pivo follow him. And it was amazing because he would go back and it just followed him. And I showed my grandmother, and unfortunately, she gets motion sick very easily. So she got motion sick because the camera was going forwards and then backwards. And she said, you could have just recorded this in landscape. And I said, yes, but look, isn't this cool? And she said, oh, okay, I think so. If somebody gets very easily motion sick, then showing them a video of somebody going backwards and forwards with a roller painting a room is probably not the most exciting thing for them, but it works really, really well. I'm very pleased with it, and it's a funky little fun thing that you could give somebody who's into photography who wants to do some more stuff with their phone, that pairs nicely with something that they might already have, like say extra lenses for their device, or things like that.
Very nice, very nice. I'm sitting here thinking about taking that, and I'm wondering what that would be like to have that movement inside a time lapse.
Yeah, that's where it gets a bit cooler, because then you can, have, say, for example, I don't know, birds outside or something. Birds is a bad example. It's not very good at following those. But say, for example, you're sitting out in the garden and you want to show how the sunlight moves throughout the day, but you are likely to shift and move your chair around with the sun. Well, you don't need to worry about adjusting your camera at the same time. It can just follow you as you move around. And then you can show how the sun has changed, your positioning in the garden so that you're comfortable, and the shade and everything else. So.
Okay, star goes beside that one. That's one I want to check out for myself.
Well, Patrice is costing me money, so we're all good here.
Yeah. Stimulation of the economy is what we're all about here, folks.
Yeah, it's like supporting local businesses, aka ordering takeout.
All right, so I'm going to delve into my my list. I'm going to go big this time. Because I pick this every year because I think it's just really important for people to have something like this. And that is a backup system. We can talk about a lot of different kinds of backups, and we do shows on backups. But online backups is one thing that you really, really, really should be doing, because that way, no matter what happens to you, what happens to your house or your office or wherever, your files are stored somewhere else safely. My pick for an online service is Backblaze. Backblaze is affordable. Backblaze is efficient. It's fast. It does not interfere with your normal day-to-day work, and it stores things securely. The software is great for recovering things. If you're just backing up for the first time, you can seed your backup to them by sending them a hard drive or contacting them. They'll send you a hard drive, you send it back, and that gets your backup started. Or, of course, you can just hit the button start and let it start to go. Now, if you have a really large hard drive or an external drive of some kind, that might be something that you want to think about as far as the seeding goes, because otherwise you might blow past your bandwidth cap, depending on your internet provider. But yeah, for the amount of money they charge and what they give you as far as the peace of mind goes, I've only had one time where I had a situation that I needed to recover a file, and it was a piece of cake. And it was my stupidity. I had deleted it, but Backblaze saved me on that. I've dealt with other backup companies. I'm not going to call any names, but there's at least one that I would tell you to stay way away from. Instead of telling you that, I'll tell you to go with Backblaze. One other thing that's important to note about Backblaze, if you have, let's say, the iMac that's in front of me, and you have an external hard drive connected, you can select to have that external hard drive backed up as well. But because it's an external hard drive and it might become disconnected, Backblaze will do that backup, and it'll keep those files for 30 days on your external. As long as it stays connected or is connected within that 30-day window, and Backblaze has a chance to catalog it, it will maintain those files just like if they were on your main drive. It's after you go beyond 30 days that it says, okay, that's beyond our terms of service, and it's not really backing up anything active, and so it deletes those files. So you need to be careful about that, but it's a really nice feature as well. If you have, say, a project that you work on and are constantly shifting drives between, say, the office or between Macs, or just shifting other drives in and out with other projects, as long as you plug those drives in, if they're backed up, as long as you do it within 30 days, you're good. If it's more than that, you risk the chance of that being deleted from Backblaze. That doesn't mean it gets deleted locally. It's just that your security blanket is gone. So small note on that. But other than that, this software has been seamless, and it's one of those things you forget about until you need it. And then you think, oh my God, I'm so glad I have it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you guys use any offline backup services?
I actually use Backblaze as well, but I use it slightly differently. I use the B2 cloud storage solution, and then have a third-party application that takes care of it, because I have multiple machines, and it's just cheaper that way.
Right.
Yeah, I just use Backblaze myself. So.
Oh, good. So, okay, so Backblaze, you're welcome.
No, they're really good. I mean, they've been rock solid for many, many, many years. They're also one of the cheapest storage providers I know. Mm-hmm. Cheap and secure. What else do you need, right?
Yeah.
And if you're geeks like us, I think it's either quarterly or maybe a little longer, they publish statistics on the hard drives that they use in their service centers. And it's always a fascinating look at longevity and what works and what doesn't. And it can inform you a little bit as to what drives you might want to buy if you have local servers at home or anything like that. So that's it's sort of a service they provide to the community, but I think it's a really nice look at something that most of us would never get a chance to. And frankly, it would be hard for any of the media outlets to test those things at the level that Backblaze does. So Good job, guys. Yeah,
it's a quarterly newsletter, I think, or quarterly blog post, and it's super helpful. The level of the number of devices they have, and they don't just list everything and say, okay, this is the data. They actually analyze it and tell you what their recommendations are, and what also the limits are of the data, and where you probably shouldn't look because it was only a small number of hard drives, or only running for a short amount of time, for example.
Yeah.
So very good.
Yeah. Well, that takes us through 2 rounds. So, and I spent a little money so far. But we'll have more with Patrice and Rose in the next edition of MacVoices, where we wrap up gift guide number 5 for the holiday season. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.